You grab your keys. Your dog looks up, their ears lower, their tail stops mid-wag. You open the door, step through, and close it behind you. You're off to work. But have you ever stopped to wonder, behind that door, what is your dog actually thinking? Most people assume their dog gets a little sad, and then forgets, moves on, finds a sunny spot, takes a nap. But behavioral science and neuroscience tell a completely different story. Over the next 8 hours, your dog's brain goes on a journey involving stress hormones, scent tracking, neural reward circuits, and an emotional countdown that only ends when you walk back in. Here's the first thing you didn't know. Your dog knows you're leaving before you pick up your keys. Alexandra Horowitz documented this in 2009. Dogs learn the entire pre-departure ritual, not just the obvious cues. W-ation. Your alarm goes off. You shower. You get dressed. You grab your bag. You pick up your keys. W-ation C. Your dog has memorized this sequence, and each step raises their alertness a little more. Every behavior in that chain is a countdown signal. GD. Your dog doesn't read clocks. They read you. The sound of the shower starting. The specific shoes you put on. The way you move through the kitchen when you're running late versus when you have time. Each cue tells them it's getting closer. The moment you pick up those keys, they already know what's coming. And it goes deeper than actions. Corson Muller and his team showed in 2015 that dogs read your facial expressions with remarkable accuracy. On a rushed morning, when you're stressed, distracted, mentally already at the office, your dog detects the tension on your face. They register your emotional state before you're even conscious of it yourself. The door closes, and something shifts. In 2003, Prado, Provide, and colleagues adapted the Ainsworth Strange Situation Test, originally designed for human infants, for dogs. What they found was striking. Dogs displayed protest behavior when their owners left the room, whining, searching. Approach to the door. Patterns nearly identical to what psychologists see in human toddlers separated from their mothers. 61% of the dogs tested showed secure attachment, almost the same proportion found in human infants. These dogs experienced stress during separation, but recovered relatively quickly. They could function, they could settle. But the stress was real. The rest fell into insecure patterns. Insecure, ambivalent dogs reacted more intensely, pacing, vocalizing, unable to settle. Insecure, avoidant dogs appeared to shut down, withdrawn, unresponsive, as if nothing mattered. Your dog's attachment style doesn't just affect how they greet you. It shapes their entire experience of every single hour you're gone. What happens inside the body? Dreschel and Granger measured cortisol levels in dogs left alone in 2005. Within the first 15 minutes after the owner walked out, cortisol, the primary stress hormone, rose significantly. It peaked at around 30 minutes. Your dog's stress response doesn't wait. It starts the moment the door closes, but cortisol doesn't keep climbing. In most healthy dogs, the curve bends downward after about an hour. Stress levels gradually decrease. But here's the detail that most people miss. Cheese-in cortisol never returns to baseline, not after 2 hours, not after 4, not after 8. It stays elevated, lower than the peak, but higher than normal, until one specific thing happens. You come home, your dog doesn't forget you left, they stabilize, at a level that is neither panic nor peace. D. Not suffering, not content, waiting. Your dog spends most of the day in a kind of emotional standby mode, alert enough to respond the moment anything changes. Can dogs actually tell how much time has passed? Therese Wren and Linda Keeling tested this in 2011. They separated dogs from their owners for 30 minutes, 2 hours, and 4 hours. The result was clear. Dogs greeted their owners significantly more enthusiastically after 2 hours than after 30 minutes. More tail wagging, more physical contact, more lip licking. Dogs discriminate time intervals. But how? Dogs don't have watches. They can't read numbers. So how do they know if it's been 30 minutes or 3 hours? Horowitz proposed an elegant theory, the olfactory clock. Your dog measures elapsed time by tracking how much your scent has decayed in the environment. Think about it. In the morning, right after you leave, your scent is everywhere, on the sheets, on the sofa cushions, on the floor where you walked. But scent molecules dissipate over time. Every hour, the concentration drops a little more. Your dog's nose, with 300 million scent receptors, tracks that gradient. The fainter the scent, the more time has passed. You can almost test this. On days you come home earlier than usual, your dog often seems surprised, not upset, surprised, because the scent in the house hasn't decayed to the concentration that normally signals your return. Their internal clock says it's not time yet. But there you are, the system recalibrates. What does your dog actually do with their time when you're gone? Wren and her colleagues, combined with home camera studies, documented a remarkably consistent pattern. First, protest, whining at the door, scratching, pacing, then exploration. sniffing, checking rooms, looking out windows, then rest, settling down somewhere. And then the cycle repeats. Protest, explore, rest, on a loop until you return. But here's what the cameras reveal most often. For the majority of the hours, your dog lies down, eyes closed, body still. But they're not in deep sleep. Researchers describe it as light rest, a state where the body relaxes but the ears remain active, scanning for sound cues, engine starting, footsteps on the path, the specific metallic sound of your key sliding into the lock. And where do they choose to lie? The camera studies tell a consistent story. Dogs settle in the places with the strongest concentration of their owner's scent. The bed, the sofa, a pile of worn clothing. Not the coolest spot, not the most comfortable spot, the spot that smells most like you. The neuroscience of anticipation. Gregory Burns and his team placed trained dogs inside an fMRI scanner, fully awake, in 2012. They showed dogs a hand signal that meant your owner is about to come. A separate signal meant food is coming. Scene CC2. The caudate nucleus, the brain's reward center, activated for both. But it activated more strongly for the owner signal than for the food signal. Think about what that means. The caudate fires before the owner even appears. This isn't reaction. This is anticipation. Tactor. The waiting is about to end, and the brain rewards itself for knowing that. And in 2016, Peter Cook and his team pushed this further. They found that for a significant proportion of dogs, the ventral caudate responded more strongly to verbal praise from their owner than to food treats. Not all dogs, but many. You are not just a meal ticket. For these dogs, your voice, your attention, your approval, these are the primary reward, the moment you walk through the door. This is where the neuroscience peaks. Nagasawa and colleagues measured oxytocin, the bonding hormone, in 2015. In the first 30 seconds of reunion, oxytocin surges, in the dog, and in you. A mutual chemical cascade, the same neurochemical feedback loop that bonds a mother to her newborn infant, and the greeting your dog gives you isn't random. Wren and Keeling showed that greeting intensity is directly proportional to how long you've been gone. Mycesta. 30 minutes produces a warm welcome. 2 hours produces something significantly more intense. More tail wagging, more body contact, more sustained attention. Every reunion is calibrated to the length of the absence. But perhaps the most telling data comes from McGowan and colleagues in 2014. They tracked cortisol levels throughout the entire day. The lowest point? Not during mealtime, not during walks, not during play. Cortisol dropped to its absolute lowest during the first few minutes after the owner walked back in. This isn't a dog getting happy because dinner is coming. This is neurological relief. The stress response that began the moment you left, the cortisol spike, the elevated baseline, the hours of vigilant waiting, all of it resets, in minutes, because of you, not food, not toys, not another dog. You are their regulatory agent. Your presence is what brings the system back to baseline, and this goes far beyond a single day. Anne Sophie Wilson and her team published findings in 2022 that should make every working dog owner pause. They measured cortisol not in blood or saliva, but in hair, long-term cortisol deposits. And they found that cortisol levels in dog hair mirrored cortisol levels in their owner's hair, month to month. If your job stresses you out chronically, your dog carries that stress too. Dogs living with owners who work long, unpredictable hours showed higher cortisol baselines than dogs whose owners had regular, predictable schedules. The research suggests it's not just the length of absence that matters, it's the predictability. A dog that knows when you leave and when you return copes better than a dog that never knows when the door will open. Why does any of this happen? Why does departure affect the dog brain so profoundly? Brian Hare and Michael Tomasello proposed the answer in 2005, the domestication hypothesis. Over 30,000 years, dogs evolved alongside humans, not just for food, but for social dependence. Separation from a human partner triggers something deep in the dog's evolutionary architecture. A signal that reads, in the oldest part of the brain, something is wrong. Wolves don't show this. Even socialized wolves, wolves raised by human handlers from birth, do not display separation distress when those humans leave. No whining, no protest, no cortisol spike. This reaction exists only in domestic dogs. It's not a mammal universal. It's a trait written by 30,000 years of living alongside us. Bridget von Holt and her team identified the genetic signature in 2017, a set of variants on chromosome 6 in a region linked to Williams-Burns syndrome in humans. In people, this condition causes extreme sociability, an irresistible drive to approach others, to stay close, to feel distressed when separated. D-dogs carry variants of these same genes. The urge to be near you and the pain of being apart may be encoded in their DNA. Now, separation distress and separation anxiety are not the same thing. Most dogs experience some degree of distress when their owner leaves. That's normal. That's biology. Separation anxiety is a clinical condition marked by destructive behavior, continuous vocalization, house soiling, self-harm. If your dog shreds the furniture or injures themselves trying to escape, that's not normal distress. That's a condition that needs professional help. For everyday departure stress, the single most effective thing you can do is be predictable. Same routine, same time, same sequence of actions. Your dog uses ritual to predict what comes next, and prediction is the brain's best tool for reducing uncertainty. A dog that knows when you leave and when you return carries less cortisol than a dog facing an unpredictable schedule. Enrichment helps. Puzzle toys, calming music, a piece of your worn clothing left on their bed, something that carries your scent. These tools can reduce cortisol, but they don't eliminate the waiting state. Your dog still counts down to your return. If the behavior is severe, destructive, self-injurious, or escalating, a veterinary behaviorist can design a desensitization protocol that makes a real difference. So, let's go back to that morning. You're standing at the door, keys in your hand. Your dog is watching. Now you know what happens behind that door. They don't get sad and forget. They count time by your fading scent. Their brain rewards itself at the signal of your return. Their cortisol, the chemical measure of stress, only resets when they see you. You're not just their owner. You are the thing their nervous system uses to calibrate itself. Stress levels, reward responses, emotional baseline. All of it is tuned to your presence. Without you, the system doesn't crash, but it runs on elevated standby, waiting, scanning, tracking the slow fade of your scent across the hours. Next time you leave for work, look back once. That dog standing behind the glass isn't just watching you go. Their nose is already tracking your scent decay. Their ears are already tuned to the sound of your car. Their reward circuit is already wired to the moment you return. And their entire biology, from cortisol to oxytocin to the very genes that make them who they are, is counting down to you.